In the 21st century, change is compulsory. Governments, corporations, and NGOs are all learning, sometimes the hard way, that they need to stay ahead of the evolutionary curve to continue to be relevant. That's where non-profit Brightline steps in, offering research and development that organizations can learn from and network through to keep themselves on the wave rather than under it. I'm Andrew Wilson. I'm here in Davos to speak to Brightline ahead of the World Economic Forum. Welcome to the Business Debate. Ricardo, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about Brightline, first of all.
Brightline is a coalition led by the Project Management Institute, and we aim to study and to promote knowledge on how to bridge the gap between ideas and results, between what we call strategy design and strategy delivery.
And you're a non-profit, but you're working with all kinds of organizations, government, industry.
Yes, we are not-for-profit and non-commercial, so everything we produce is on the benefit of the society. And in order to do that, we try to partner with different sectors, organizations from different backgrounds, different parts of the world, to join forces to study this problem, why we struggle so much on getting things out of paper and turning into reality.
And what's the motivation? What keeps an organization like yours optimistic and moving and progressing?
Yeah, it's first we need to understand that we have a quite big problem. And the problem is that due to the failure of turning ideas into reality, we lose a massive amount of money and amount of opportunity. And we live in a world that with such an inequality that we need to help organizations, governments, not-for-profit, to succeed on bridging this gap.
How receptive are organizations to that message?
All organizations are extremely receptive and they understand the problem. Now everybody, including Brightline, is trying to find what the solution will look like. Which kind of capabilities organizations must develop to reduce this gap. Let me summarize this with numbers, some scary numbers. PMI used some data from the G20 and failure rates on the projects. And we concluded that every 20 seconds, around $1 million is wasted due to the poor implementation of initiatives. And let me put this in context. This is around 2 trillion in a year, the GDP of Brazil, the country that I came from. So it's a massive loss of money. And you may think that, okay, if you implement better, companies will be more profitable. Yes, that's true, but it's above and beyond that. We live in a world with such a huge inequality that we need to use mindfully our resources. This will improve governments, NGO, and this is exactly the problem that we are putting the coalition and the whole society together to solve.
What's wrong with the way people behave when they organize themselves into groups? What do we know about how people operate, and is it different from the past?
The first thing we need to understand is that we have a big difference from how organizations operate in the past and how organizations operate now. So most of the management skills that were extremely useful at that time do not work anymore. So we need to learn and adapt ourselves on that. And this is a key aspect of today's success of some organizations.
I suppose part of that is that the senior staff in organizations, they're promoted through meritocracy and their ability or their enjoyment of change, of tackling things for the future. But the challenge is, I suppose, to bring the rest of the organization with you.
Yes, this is a big challenge. And the second biggest challenge is also put things on paper. It's hard. I'm not saying it's an easy job to think about how your organization will be in the future. But the real challenge is to take things out of the paper. So when you sell an idea of a business plan, of a transformation, this is one thing. But to take this transformation and transform it into reality, it's what really matters. And this is the most painful part of strategy.
Also, I suppose a lot of organizations see themselves as unique. The challenges that they have, the challenges that they face, the locations of their organization, these are all issues which are particular to our organization. But actually, what I'm getting from you is that there are principles that apply across all these organizations, indeed all around the world, even beyond cultural differences. There are principles we understand.
Yes, we did a study in 2017, and we create a set of 10 guiding principles that we put available for everybody. And these are something like our universal beliefs. And they work cross-cultural, across business sectors. And this is exactly, most of them, they talk about being aware about your accountability for implementing the ideas you have. Being aware of what is going on in the market. Because many times when you have an innovative idea, we can see this very easy on small companies like startups. They have an idea and they feel so passionate about that idea that they become just blind about what's going on in the market. And then sometimes competitors are changing the marketplace. When they come up with their idea, it doesn't work anymore. You need to be very cautious to understand and to get insights from the market, from what is going on. This is just an example of one of the principles. Another one is the concept of failing mindfully and fast. So if you see that you are on the wrong step, stop and fix quickly. Don't go deeper on your failure, because it will hurt. And this is exactly some of the principles we want to share with organizations, and they apply to all kinds.
That's interesting, because to get a company to stop, there's an element of panic when you start to fail, isn't there? So to get a company to stop digging the hole and take a breath and look back, that's difficult. On an organizational basis, that's extremely difficult.
Yeah, that's extremely difficult, and it's even more when you are a successful organization. Because your previous success makes you so proud of yourself, of your competence, that you say, no, I cannot fail. And then many times, you not only do not stop digging, but you dig more. And then your problems become more and more evident. So this is why so many large organizations are failing dramatically in the recent years.
Then there's a new element injected. Data analytics, a different kind of algorithm for understanding your market or your place in the market. So you turn and move on that, but now you're heading in a bad direction for the way you were organized before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we need just to understand that change is a permanent status. And you need to understand that when technology comes, there is several side effects that you need to adjust in your organization. So competent organizations are organizations that are able to adapt themselves faster. And this is the key aspect of successful. And when I say organizations, I'm saying governments, I'm saying NGOs. For example, today, let me give you an example. We see a lot of new technologies coming in place. And we see that most of the time governments are not fast enough to create the parameters where these organizations can operate. And we see dramatic scandals on the top of that, because usually government is always one step behind, trying to fix what some technology came. So how we can keep up the game and be fast enough to create a sustainable future.
What can an organization like Brightline bring to a conference like Davos?
Yeah, we are doing a breakfast together with economists, with PMI and BCG, called Human 2.0. And we will bring together leaders from different types of organizations to discuss technology and its impact on humans. And you may ask, why this for Brightline if you're talking about the gap? Because one of the key components of transformation is the human side. We need to understand that technology maybe will respect Moore's law, becoming faster and cheaper. But humans do not respect that law. So we don't move as fast as technology. And what is happening today, it's a massive gap on how humans can adapt to these new trends and how fast the trends coming into place. So how we can bridge this gap and promote a transformation that includes people and not excludes people.
And that's particularly relevant for people who are brought up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, who are in the third chapter of their careers and confused and perhaps seeing the rules change to the ones they expected and finding it hard to adapt. And the companies aren't necessarily that sympathetic to that atmosphere and the staff.
Yeah. I will just correct one thing. I don't think it's only for those who are on the third phase of their career. I'm talking even the young people. Everybody is scared of what is going on because there is such a massive wave of change that in a couple of years things change dramatically. So how you can create an environment for humans to learn on a permanent basis, to understand that change, because change brings a lot of discomfort because you don't know what to expect. Even if it's better, you don't know exactly. So what happens is that we need to create a culture inside organizations where people can learn. And the organizations are responsible to do that. So you need to start rotating jobs, start learning, and not through only formal learning, but through a development. So people, for example, when they are on the third part of their career, they have so many different learnings that they can adapt to different circumstances.
So what's your advice to someone just leaving education now and going into the workplace, at the world that they're facing for the next 50 years?
Be absolutely prepared to know that your work will be completely different in 5 years, and then again in 7 years. And this is a mindset. This mindset that everything we do is temporary and unique. And this is why, for example, project management is taking a massive role on human development in organizations because we work in a project-based environment. Everything we do as a professional, it's a project. Regardless if you are a lawyer or if you are an engineer, you work in temporary efforts and things change, things evolve all the time.
And how do people learn to find that unintimidating, not to be a frightening message to have to take on board when they're just starting out a career? The prospect, you said, of changing in 5 years and then again in 7 years.
Yeah. Look, this is again, it's a human and natural mindset. We just published recently an article called Learning from Crisis. And this is exactly, it's this crisis mode I'm talking. So, for example, let me tell you, I'm Brazilian. So I learned a lot from crisis and knowing how to survive in a less stable environment. And this became an asset for me. So right now, what we need just to understand that this is a natural, this pain is part of natural life of being human. So when you feel too much stability, you should start to become a little bit more concerned because maybe there is a wave that you are not seeing. But also this, I want to be very positive. This is the magic of life. You know, imagine you have an opportunity to learn and to work and to operate in different things during your whole career. You make your life much more joyful, and you help your organization and you help your society with new needs. So we need to grow our children and our teenagers to have this mindset. And this will change dramatically over the next years.
Ricardo, thanks very much indeed. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.